of binge drinking landed her husband in the hospital. Diana Barrymore swore it was over for good. Little did she know, her wish would come true in the most horrific way. There's privilege, and then there's Diana Barrymore. She was born on March 3, 1921 in New York City to A-list actor John Barrymore and high society poet Blanche Ulrich. On top of that, the Barrymores were an acting dynasty. But Diana grew up poor when it came to the important stuff. John and Blanche's marriage was a battlefield, and Diana was the biggest casualty. John and Blanche divorced each other, but it felt like the 60-year-old daughter was also included. Boarding schools raised Diana and taught her little except how to be a brat. Blanche was a distant and controlling mom, but John was a non-existent dad. Diana knew him as well and saw him as often as his fans did. He rarely visited her, and John wasn't always on his best behavior when he did. Diana quickly learned the embarrassing and public way that her dad lived up to his reputation. When she was only 13 years old, Diana and her friend joined her dad for an exciting day out, but the seemingly perfect day ended in horror. Diana caught her 52-year-old dad flirting with and kissing her 17-year-old friend. The cherry on top was John drinking too much and passing out in the car. Against her better judgment, Diana couldn't help it. Her father's lifestyle drew her in. Diana jumped into stage acting and the red carpet rolled out for her. She had no shortage of media attention, job offers, or money. She could be picky with the projects and demanding of her employers. She admitted her last name helped her get in, but that no name could keep her in. Her mother already thought she chose the wrong career, and then she went ahead and fell for the wrong guy, too. Enter Bramwell Fletcher. He was an actor 17 years her senior and off-limits. You see, Blanche didn't allow Diana to date actors, men like John, but not only did 19-year-old Diana date that 36-year-old behind her mom's back, she fell in love with him too. Their age difference was just a number to her. Hollywood soon came calling, but Diana's mom wasn't having it. Blanche warned, "Let those machines get hold of you and they'll ruin you. Look what they did to your father." But Diana pushed back until her mom eventually gave in and let her move there. Diana placated her mom by agreeing to follow her rules with little intention of actually doing so. Bramwell proposed a day before Diana left. She said yes, but she didn't want anyone to know just yet. Diana convinced herself that he was the one. Okay, Diana may have cheated on him before and never confessed, but she brushed it off as a one-time mistake. She'd never do it again. Spoiler, Diana did it again and again. John lived a depraved life, even by Hollywood standards, and Blanche knew it. She forbade Diana from spending a single night in his home. Diana, doubting her abs and Dad would care, agreed. Then Diana assumed John would be living with them. Then Diana realized John assumed she'd be living with him. He'd even prepared a room for her. Diana ended up spending a few nights every week at her dad's home, but this arrangement didn't last long. He went too far one night. When John asked Diana to call someone, she questioned who he wanted to speak to this late. John admitted with zero shame that he wanted a woman to come over. Diana tried refusing, but her dad insulted and argued with her. After reluctantly making the call, Diana packed her bags and left that night. Once again, Diana and her father became strangers, until her phone rang 2 weeks later. When John's friend told her, "Your father's here. He's asking for you," she feared he was in some sort of trouble, but when Diana got there, she found her dad drinking himself into a stupor with a group of women. It was a struggle to even get him to leave. Diana realized as she drove him home that Blanche had been right all along, and she braced herself what she had to do. Diana told him, "Daddy, I think it's better we don't see each other for a while. He's there, back. Aren't you coming in to check up? Maybe your daddy's hit himself a young lady to diddle with." Diana ran out of patience and snapped back, "You're disgusting. Really, you are. You're a drunken old fool. You bore me." After that, Diana refused to be the first one to reach out, a decision she would regret forever. That fight was Diana and John's last moment together. Unfortunately, only a few weeks later, he lost a battle with pneumonia, liver failure, and kidney failure. This was the first big loss of Diana's life, but it was far from the last. John was a tragedy of wasted talent, addiction, broken relationships, and career ruin. Diana's last name was a blessing and a curse. Turns out the Barrymores weren't only legendary for acting. Addiction, mental illness, and tragedy have tormented this dynasty for generations. John's fate was a dime a dozen, too many for it to be a coincidence. If the Barrymore curse is real, then Diana was the next victim. It didn't take long for Diana to make a name for herself, but it wasn't always in a good way. The Barrymore wealth and clout emboldened her to act like a diva. She spent like the money was endless. She behaved like the opportunities would always come. One director even shared, "From all I had heard about her, spitting in a director's eye was a hobby of hers." Diana made bad decisions in work and in love. 1 month after her father's passing, Diana and Bramwell tied the knot. They drove to San Francisco for a 4-day honeymoon. Their honeymoon didn't last long, literally and figuratively. Diana came to a horrible realization after they settled into newlywed life. But this epiphany arrived too late. It was the beginning of their end. Diana realized that age wasn't in fact just a number. The 21-year-old loved going out, partying and flirting, but her 39-year-old husband had already been there and done that. It didn't take long for them to start bickering and growing apart. Then Bramwell went away for work and Diana went crazy. This was the final nail in the coffin. Diana was, for the first time, truly alone in Hollywood. She made the most of it by partying, hard and cheating. Diana didn't even try to hide her affairs. The actress admitted, "I dated every eligible man in Hollywood." At the same time, she avoided calling and writing to Bramwell, but Diana couldn't avoid her husband forever. Bramwell returned, and Diana lasted 2 weeks. She confessed with the help of liquid courage to her affairs. He didn't take it well. Diana kept going. "I don't love you anymore, Bramwell. There's nothing left between us. That's why I did what I did. I knew nothing of life when I married you, but I've learned plenty since. I suggest divorce." His response? Absolutely brutal. Bramwell snarled, "Suggest divorce? After what you've told me, I would remain here even if you were the last woman on earth." Diana dismissed him. "All right, pack up, dear. There's no problem then." He moved out that night and never looked back. Diana couldn't say the same once the drinks wore off and the regret set in. It drove her to insanity. Believe it or not, Diana wanted Bramwell back, and she hatched the most unhinged plan to make it happen. She called a friend and told him that she was ending her life. She dumped 30 sleeping pills into her palm, but didn't swallow a single one. When he arrived, she pretended to collapse in front of him, but Diana soon fainted for real and woke up to a nightmare. Diana woke up to a doctor pumping her stomach. She tried screaming that she hadn't taken anything, but all she could do was thrash, moan, and choke. The doctor eventually stopped when he realized there was nothing to pump. Diana begged him to call Bramwell, but all her soon-to-be ex-husband said was, "She's all right. Don't want to see her. Good night." Diana's downfall was impressive, even for a Barrymore. She came to Hollywood as a 21-year-old rising star armed with wealth, a famous last name, an A-list dad, and talent. Yet Diana only managed to last 3 years and 6 big roles. Then the Barrymore curse struck. She had to look beyond Hollywood for work, and once Diana's downfall started, it didn't stop. Diana's divorce went through in 1946, and she didn't waste any time. She fell for John Robert Howard. He wasn't just a hot and tall tennis player, it was also Bramwell's polar opposite. Young, simple, and straightforward. Diana hoped this new romance would make her life saner and healthier. But she couldn't have been more wrong. Before long, Diana discovered that John told the media about their engagement. This was news to everyone, including Diana herself. Turns out they'd never even talked about marriage, but she was in too much love to care. Diana ignored Blanche's earlier warnings and married him in 1947, but during the ceremony she couldn't help thinking, "But I've said these lines before. Why am I doing the same play?" Diana looked at her husband on their wedding night and realized the obvious. "My God, you're common," she told them. John pointed out, "You knew that before you married me." Then they bickered about their last names. Both their egos couldn't handle being called Mr. Barrymore or Mrs. Howard. John ended the fight by putting his mouth to better use. She realized too late that this wasn't love. It was lust. Diana still tried to be a good wife, maybe a little too hard. With her dwindling wealth, she paid for everything. She had no choice. John never had any money. She even uprooted her life and followed him around. Diana's worsening drinking kept her company. Being a mooch was already bad enough, but John's worst was yet to come. John got physical with Diana. Like the time he hit her hard across the mouth, she screamed at him as her lip bled. John stormed out and stayed at a motel with another woman. They made up when he returned. Diana admitted she stayed out of pride and because he was good in bed. But neither of those things could save them. After a night of drinking, Diana and John were driving home when they heard sirens behind them. They pulled over and waited for the two officers to approach them. Things took a drastic turn when John took a swing at an officer and ended up crumpled to the ground. Instead, Diana didn't take that well and charged at the officers. They didn't take that well either. Diana and John spent the night behind bars. The couple woke up to find themselves on the front page of nearly every newspaper. Once again, Diana's reputation took another hit. They faced several charges, but Diana didn't fight a single one. Instead, she paid the fines and looked for a way out. It came in the form of a job offer, one she so desperately wanted, and far from home. Diana quickly fled from the scandal and her husband, but in true Barrymore fashion, she wasn't alone for long. Enter Robert Wilcox. He was her co-star, 11 years her senior, addicted to drinking, and exactly who she needed at the time. Diana and Robert fell in love. Meanwhile, Diana and John fell apart. The feeling was immutable. She knew her husband had a harem back home. After 6 months of not-so-wedded bliss, Diana knew what she needed to do. Diana demanded a divorce, but John demanded a payout. She begged him to change his mind, and neither side budged, but it turns out that Diana didn't need to. Carmel was coming for John. It was going to give her that divorce in the weirdest way. All she had to do was wait. In the meantime, Diana wasted no time and moved on with Robert. Diana and Robert were a match made in drinking. They fell in love with each other and fell deeper into their addictions. Their reputations plummeted along with their job offers. They were burning bridges left and right, and once again, Diana found herself the breadwinner. She had to stretch her strange savings even more. Well, at least until 1949, when the opportunity of her lifetime finally presented itself. The Diana Barrymore Show wasn't just a television talk show. It was Diana's salvation. Robert warned her not to drink in the hours before she was set to shoot the first episode. She also knew what was at stake and agreed, so he left her to learn her lines in peace. But Diana figured one drink to calm her nerves wouldn't hurt. But one drink became another, and another. When Robert came back, it was too late. He knew what was going to happen and begged her to call in sick. Diana and her slurred speech refused. She marched to the studio and realized he was right. But it was too late. Everyone could tell what she had been up to. The show looked past Diana's reputation and gave her a chance. She proved them wrong, and they showed her no mercy. They ordered her to go home. Diana swore she'd never do this again and begged for another chance. No dice. Diana knew she'd never get an opportunity like this again. She had to watch as the Diana Barrymore show became the Faye Emerson show. It was the first talk show and made its host a star. Diana saw Faye, and what could have been everywhere. In 1948, Diana got her divorce from John for the craziest reason. The FBI were looking for him on suspicion of slavery and human trafficking. He went into hiding. As awful as this was, there was a silver lining for Diana. John couldn't contest her divorce filings. She was free and couldn't wait to marry Robert. Blanche despaired at her daughter's choice in men again, but Diana insisted, "Something tells me this is it." Robert laid his cards out. "I'm not sure I'm the right man for you, Diana. You need someone strong. I can't do anything for you. I have no money. All I own is what I have on my back, and it looks like I'll never get another job in pictures. But I do know you'll never find anyone who will love you more selfless or more completely." That was all it took for Diana. They married in 1950, but it still wasn't happily ever after. Diana and Robert couldn't catch a break. They severed too many ties and trashed the reputations. Diana resorted to odd jobs like impersonating that she found degrading. She drained her savings and pawned all her stuff. She begged everyone she knew for money, but it still wasn't enough. It didn't help her that Robert couldn't or wouldn't work. All of this left Diana vulnerable to people with bad intentions. Tom Farrell was tall, dark, handsome, Irish, and one of Robert's drinking buddies. Tom slid it in when Robert stormed out of his and Diana's apartment after a fight. He grabbed Diana, kissed her, and declared, "The first minute I saw you, I wanted you." He then made an alluring promise. "You haven't been loved yet. I can show you." Hook, lying, and sinker. Diana's instincts screamed at her to run away from him and never look back. Tom was aggressive and dangerous and didn't hide it. But for the first time in too long, Diana felt desired and excited. She gave in and had an affair with him, but neither had their relationship well. It didn't take long for Robert's friends to catch them and snitch. Robert demanded answers. Diana swore that it was just physical and that she still loved him. He demanded that she dump Tom. Diana refused and dared him to leave her. Furious, Robert used some nasty words to describe Diana, but he didn't leave. Diana and Robert settled into an awkward situation. They were still together, but so were Diana and Tom. Something had to give. Although he chose not to leave her, Robert couldn't stop arguing with Diana about Tom. During a heated argument, he ended up smacking her across the face. She fell and cracked her head against the table. It was the first time Robert ever put his hands on her. The incident led to them, for some reason, making up, and Diana breaking up with Tom. But her pair more didn't take it well, and the violence took to a whole new level. Tom, refusing to take no for an answer, broke into their apartment. Robert hurled a glass ashtray at his rival's head, inflicting serious injuries. Diana rushed Tom to the hospital, made a scene, and found herself on the front page again. In the midst of peer turmoil, Diana came to a sudden revelation. She changed her mind. Diana dumped Robert and chose Tom instead, but he was even worse. Robert moved out and Tom moved in. It only took days for Diana to realize it was a horror villain come to life. On the worst night, Diana came home to a trashed apartment. Tom had even written, "I hate you," in soap on every surface. But once she confronted him, he started beating her, and he didn't stop until she blacked out. A few days after the incident, Robert stopped by to pick up his stuff. He stared at her broken face and body. Robert was furious at Tom, but still felt like Diana got what she deserved. Diana admitted that she was wrong about Tom. The acts made peace with each other that day. It took more time, but they eventually kissed and made up. But as the story goes, it didn't last. Eventually, Diana snapped. She'd been working away from home, bonding with her co-star and trying to stay sober. Her husband's drinking landed him in the hospital again. Robert called and begged Diana for a loan, one they both knew he'd never repay. Fed up, Diana ended things and swore it was forever this time. For exclusive perks like early access to new videos, priority replies to your comments, and to have your say on future content, consider becoming a Factor Nape member. On top of that, your support helps keep the channel going. Click the link in the description for more details. She found a way to reclaim her name and story. Too much had been said about Diana, and most of it was negative. So in response, Diana, along with a ghostwriter, wrote her autobiography, Too Much Too Soon. The 36-year-old shared her past and didn't hold back. Diana even confessed that she thought sobriety was impossible for her. But she remained optimistic about the future and hoped, perhaps I have begun to find my way. But this is when Diana's story goes from too much, too soon, to too little, too late. On January 25th in 1960, Diana passed. She was only 38 years old. Most people blame it on substances, perhaps too much of one kind, and some believe it was intentional. But the autopsy didn't find signs of such, and in fact, the entire investigation came up empty. Diana's cause of death remains a mystery. Some say she took the truth with her. Still, we can all agree this was a tragic end for a woman who went through too much, too soon. Bad things keep happening to Diana's descendants. We don't have to look any further than her niece, Hollywood actress Drew Barrymore. Their lives share depressing similarities, from bad parents to substance dependencies. But if there's a curse, Drew appears to have broken it and made it out. We wish the same could be said for all Barrymores. Unfortunately, some got left behind. If you enjoyed this fact-naked video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more incredible stories. Want to say in who we cover next? Draw in our membership program through the link in the description for exclusive perks. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.